Okay, so this is the last video. I know I said I was only gonna make one tonight, but about being like asexual. So we all know these dusty males out here are going to try to say anything to try to convince women to sleep with them. They have said anything to me to try to convince me to sleep with them and break my, uh, you know, 9 year celibacy. It's not going to happen, which is the amount of years that I have not slept with a man. And being asexual, like, they're all going to try it. These guys, they will not just be your friend. That's not what they're interested in. We as women know that. Every single woman on this planet has experienced sexual assault or some type of sexual harassment at the hands of a male. They all have. We all have felt unsafe around them, uncomfortable, because they make the world unsafe for us. They make going out in the public unsafe for us as women. Constantly having to watch our back, constantly having to carry keys in our hands when we walk around, constantly having to carry pepper spray, all this shit. It's tiring. It's exhausting to have to, live in fear. And I think also being asexual as women is kind of dangerous for us because we give off these vibes, right, to men, I think, where they see it as a challenge, right? They see, oh, you don't want me, you don't want to sleep with me, especially the really attractive guys, that I've ran into. Some of them, because I don't want them, right? I don't want to date. I don't want anything to do with them. And a lot of them see it as a challenge, especially the really attractive guys will get extremely egotistical about it and angry about it because they're used to being able to get their way, with women. And especially in a city here like New York City. And there's another major reason why I would never date guys from New York City or Miami or any of the major cities is not only that they're all players because they are, but because the way they see it is, well, there are so many single, attractive, successful, brilliant women in this city, especially New York City, in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Everywhere you go, you walk around Manhattan, New York City, there's all these beautiful women and opportunities everywhere to meet women from all over the world. Why the fuck, would I settle for one, woman or whatever? Even if she's, attractive, beautiful, successful. And I consider myself to be, successful, attractive, conventionally beautiful, all this stuff. But I'm still not, gonna try to compete with other women, right? And looking good for my age at 35. But I'm still not trying to be out here competing with other women for men. I don't, because I don't want them. But the really attractive ones will get angry about that. Especially if you say you're like asexual or whatever, they see it as a challenge to their ego. They want to be the ones to convince you to break, your asexuality for them. It's not gonna happen. No way, not on my watch. Um, they want you to, because the way they see it is, well, all these women want me, when I go out around New York. So what's wrong? What's up with you? Why don't you want me? And I think especially the like really, really attractive guys, the way they see it is, um, I think that it can almost make them worse predators than like the really fugly guys. Cause like, I mean, the fugly guys already kind of, look like kind of scary or whatever, but like, you know what I mean? But like the really attractive, handsome dudes, I feel can really pull off being a predator even more, right? Because people look at them and think, oh, well, they're harmless. Look at them. They're really handsome. They're attractive. So they can get any women they want. So why would they be creeps? Why would they be predators? Well, it's the perfect mask for them, to be able to prey and harm women. But yeah, there's no way in hell I would date around anywhere in New York City. I know how the guys are, being players, being users, manipulating women, all that. Like, I know how they are. There really aren't good guys in these cities to date. No, and think about it too, whenever they walk outside, they're delusional. They look around and see all these skinny, attractive, successful women from, Asian, Latina, uh, black, all kinds of women everywhere from all walks of life, all different countries live here in New York City. And the way they see it is, well, I have all these options. Look at all these women around me. oh my God, so many women, there's not as many men, there's more women. So men have, the home field advantage in the dating market. That's how they see it. And these women should be grateful for any male attention. And I'll be honest, since I moved here back to New York City, this in the last a year, almost a year, well, not a year ago, a little over half a year ago, I have experienced that attitude from men, and I haven't even dated here. I have not gone out to meet men or go on a single date, but just the men I have encountered in like a professional kind of role or, service industry or whatever, have had that attitude with me, looking at me like, yeah, you're gorgeous, and a lot of men would want you, but you look around New York City, you see all these attractive women, blah blah, and they're gonna give me an attitude, and they have, and act like they're the prize, and that I should be grateful for their attention, and that I should chase after a man. Ain't no fucking way. And they tried to play it like that with me. They tried to play me like that and act like their attention was oh so valuable. I said, listen, bitch, I know this is New York City, and a lot of women probably get caught up in that desperation where they look around and think, oh my God, these men have all these options, so I better be a pick me. I better do whatever he says or wants. I better play the cool, chill girl, the casual girl that doesn't care that he's breadcrumbing me or ghosting me or disappearing, for weeks on end and then popping back up. I just need to play it chill and casual because otherwise he won't pick me. No, bitch, no. That's where you get it wrong. Because the second a guy ever tries that with me, even thinks he can get away with it for a few days, guess what, bitch? He's blocked immediately. No access, no more communication, blocked, done. No paragraphs. I'm not going to be like other women, and a lot of women do this and make this mistake and send him a whole paragraph, a text paragraph about how she feels, about what he did to her. No, I'm not going to give them that satisfaction of seeing me, angry, upset. Blocked, deleted, goodbye, no more communication. That's it. And that is how you fucking get to these kind of guys. I'm telling you. Don't explain anything to them. Don't get emotional with them. Don't explain how it made you feel or how it, bothered you or hurt you or say what they did is wrong. And no, block them, fucking remove them, and never ever look at their way again. Do not speak to them again. Do not go to the places where they go, which, it's New York City, so, honestly, you could go to a different bar or restaurant every night and see a whole different crowd of people because the city just has so many hundreds of thousands of, bars and places, venues and restaurants. You can go to a different one every night and see different people. So it doesn't matter because in a city like this of like 9 million people, chances are that you run into the same person again. It's going to be pretty fucking rare. And that's another thing about a place like New York City, these fuckboys and how they act is a lot of them think, there's no accountability for the way men behave in these cities. So the way they see it is, well, I can go out and date a woman, right, and treat her horribly, treat her like shit, while I'm dating her, and then she won't be able to hold me accountable because I'll just go ghost her and disappear into the crowd of 9 million people. She'll never find me again, right? Because it's New York City. So he'll never be held accountable for having abused her on a date or having, raped her or assaulted her or done anything to her, flirted with other women. I consider that abuse, when she's out with him. All this, all this shit. She won't be able to retaliate. She won't be able to get back at him or get any justice because he'll be gone, and it's New York City. Like, these men will never ever be held accountable for how they treat women in the dating world here. So that's why I refuse to date in New York City. I won't date in Miami. I won't date in New York City. I won't date in any city. I mean, even smaller cities are like this now. I will not. I refuse. But especially the big cities, New York City, all that. No, these guys, no. You don't want them. You trust me, you don't. You don't want to deal with them. You do not want to date them. Just fucking don't do it. Don't. They are going to fuck you up. They're going to prey on you. They are going to use you. They're going to cheat on you. They're going to play in your face. They're going to be talking to other women the whole time. Don't fucking give them any chance. Don't even talk to them. Don't even, like, I walk around this city not holding my nose up thinking I'm better than anyone because I don't talk to men. I just don't want to talk to them. Like, I'm not doing it to try to prove anything. I'm not doing it to try to prove like I'm better than these men, I'm better than other women because I don't date. No. All I'm doing is I am trying to protect my energy. I am trying to protect my peace. I am trying to protect my safety. And the way that I do that is I do not engage in eye contact and I do not engage with men. I don't. I don't. Wherever I go, I don't talk to them. I don't engage. I do not have any interest in socializing with them. So I don't know. I really don't. And I'd say that, has really helped save me. And also, it's part of like also like being asexual, you're just not interested in that way. The idea of sex disgusts me and it repulses me being asexual. Like, I don't want to be touched like that, and also the idea of a guy just like penetrating me, be like, I guess like in my 20s, like, and all that, when I did date in my early to mid 20s and had, a relationship, had a boyfriend, like it still felt gross then. It still felt wrong. It felt disgusting, especially since I found he was a narcissist, a malignant narcissist, but he had a porn addiction. He was addicted to so many different types of porn, you know, uh, bestiality, all this disgusting shit that I saw he was watching. Probably even more illegal shit he had on his computer, his phone. So yeah, I think like just knowing that is just disgusting. Allowing a man to be like inside my body, inside of me, knowing that he's watching other women on a screen, that's cheating. I think it's cheating. A lot of men, pretty much all men will say, oh, it's not, it is. It's disrespect to you, it's disrespect. Knowing that he's watching all those other women, knowing that, they constantly do this. This is what men do when you are with them, when you are giving them your body. They are thinking about other women. I do not want to be in that kind of unfair dynamic. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the loyalty that I'm giving to somebody. It's not. So that's another reason I don't want to sleep with them. I don't want to be in a relationship because I know that's how they are. That's how they think. And they can lie to you all day and say, oh, no, baby, you're the only one. You're the only one I think of. No, they're fucking lying. They're fucking lying. And then they'll be like, well, women are like that too. No, we're not. No, we're not. A lot of women are totally loyal to like one man. They are. If they love him, like they're loyal, they only think about him and his touch and all this. No, and he's thinking about other women the whole time. And listen, this isn't even narcissist. Like my ex, he was a malignant narcissist, but a lot of guys who aren't narcissists are creeps like this. They literally are. And predatory and constantly thinking about other women while they're already in a relationship. They are. You know? Just creeps. Even when they're in a relationship, they're talking to other women. They have female friends, all that. They are thinking about them in that way. They are. I have been on the receiving end of being like, in the past, like acquaintances with men, or friends. It wasn't really like friendship. But talking to me and flirting with me while they had a girlfriend. It's disgusting. I don't want that energy, that deceptive energy, that disloyal energy in my life. I don't. And that's all they're going to bring into my life. And yes, it's all of them. I don't give a fuck. They can come onto my page. They can say they're different, that they're not like other men. No, you literally are. You literally are, bro. I don't like to use that word, bro. I can't stand that. A lot of women will say bro. I don't like saying bro, actually. But yeah, no, I'm not gonna listen to your bullshit. You are. Don't deny it. Denial is more than a river. And I think like just being as intuitive as I am, as analytical as a thinker and being able to recognize patterns. I have really good pattern recognition with my autism. Um, I just see it as a pattern and I see it as something that I don't want any association with. I don't. I see what other women go through in relationships with these men, constantly complaining, oh, my boyfriend watches porn. You know, my husband watches porn. He's watching these other women. He's thinking about other women. Yeah, he's a fucking man, and you're with him. What else? I don't want to be. I'm not mean to them. You know, I'm not rude, but like, he's a fucking man. What else can you expect from a pig like that? Seriously. Like, oh my God. And you know, it's common sense, like it's obvious, and I'm not trying to be mean, but like it's fucking true. You know, they're up late crying because they caught him watching porn and all that. Like, yeah, what do you think like these men are doing? You know, I'm not allowing that energy into my space, into my peaceful sanctuary. You see this right now? You see how beautiful this is? I got my fuzzy rug. I've got my fuzzy furniture, you know? I've got my shoji screens. I've got my floor to ceiling windows. I've got this beautiful luxurious sanctuary. You think I'm about to let that energy into my New York City sanctuary? Fuck no. Fuck no. These creeps can kick rocks. None of them are getting into my place. My sanctuary, my peace. You know, this is my peace. This is where me as a schizoid, having autism, all that, I go to recharge my energy. I go to, you know, find solitude and meditate and just recharge. Get away from the city and come into here. No, nobody's getting in this space. No. Especially no man. No man is coming into this space and bringing that fucking energy into here. That deceptive, you know, cruel, heartless energy. You know, a lot of them, they claim to love you. I don't think they do. I don't think they do because their actions constantly show they don't. You know, these men that claim, oh, I love my girlfriend, I love my wife. No. No. So yeah, I think like, you know, being asexual, like it doesn't mean like, I guess like you can't be like open to love, but again, as I've mentioned, in this day and age, you know, in these circumstances with the rise of, you know, misogyny, losing women's rights in this country, the way men are treating women, disrespecting us, the depravity of pornography, how it's getting worse for women out there. You know, constantly objectifying us, constantly sexualizing us, even if we say we're asexual. I'm tired of it. You know, I want to be outside the male gaze. You know, I don't want them looking at me. I don't want them oogling me. Like, it's gross, you know, I just don't want it. I don't. And a lot of them think we want it as women. Like, no. And that's why the men have disappeared off my channel. There literally are no male commenters you'll notice anymore on my channel. They don't come here. They don't support my videos. They don't like my videos because they're just going to be like, well, you hate men. You're a man hater. Well, I hate what a lot of men have done to me. That's for goddamn sure. It's funny how a lot of women like can dislike men because of all the negative, you know, traumatizing things that men have done to them throughout their life. But a lot of men just hate women for no fucking reason, just because they're women. You'll hear a lot of men say, oh, I don't like the sound of her voice. She talks too much. You know how a lot of them like to talk about how women talk too much? Because they don't like the sound of our voices. They hate our voices. They hate listening to us speak. You know, they don't respect us. Why do you think that women have been banned from speaking in Afghanistan? Women have completely lost all their rights in Afghanistan right now. And literally are banned from speaking even. Men don't even want to hear their voices. And it's the same, listen, it's the same here in Western countries in the US, but guess what? The only thing preventing these men from doing to us what the men in Afghanistan do to their women is laws. And not laws that men fought for, you know, freedoms and laws to protect women. These are laws put in place that were fought for by women, by the blood, sweat, tears of suffragette women, you know, in the 70s. Like, you know, women who fought for women's rights. It wasn't the men, okay? It was not them just all of a sudden saying, oh, we think women need more freedom. No, it was women who fought for the rights we have today, which are being taken away from us right as I speak. In this country. So yeah, it was women who fought for them, not men. And if a lot of Western men could have their way in this country, other Western nations, oh yeah, they would want it to be just like fucking Afghanistan. Seriously. To have that level of control over women, are you kidding me? To be able to do whatever they want to us with no legal repercussions, no laws protecting us? Absolutely. Absolutely. In a heartbeat, they would want it that way. And they would have all the power and control, just like the men in Afghanistan have right now over women. And not being allowed to speak in public, not being able to go to parks anywhere in public. They want it that way. They want it that way. Even in Western countries, when I go out, walk around in the park, all these places out in the public, men constantly try to intimidate me in the streets, stare me down. You know, they don't like us in their spaces, in not their spaces, but they don't like us. They don't. And they don't want us in the public. They make it obvious all the time when they try to constantly intimidate us or make us fear for our lives, constantly walking around in public. It's because they don't want us there. And if they could have things be exactly the way they are in Afghanistan here in the US, they would have it that way. The only thing, again, that's preventing life from being like Afghanistan for women here is because women fought for our rights, you know? That's the only reason. So yeah, without it, men would not have just all of a sudden had a change of heart and wanted to grant women rights and equality. No, no. So yeah, any man who does not support feminism does not support me, and he's going to be blocked immediately. Any man who says anything negative, anything against feminism, I'm going to block immediately. Any man that does not have anything to say about when I post about women's rights or suffering around the world, or does not, support it, is going to get blocked. So yeah, do not be with any man who does not actively support feminism, just don't. If you do decide to date. I won't though. I refuse to date, so. And you know what? A lot of men will come on and say, oh, that's a waste of your, youth. That's a waste of your body, a waste of your sexuality. You could be giving that to a man, You could be letting a man access you and giving him everything he wants. Bitch, I give a fuck. You think I care that I'm withholding a resource for a unknown man that you don't even know? I give a fuck. Fuck them. Fuck them all. They don't get any access. They're not entitled to access to women's bodies. No. Yeah, no way. I'm not going to give them any access for the rest of my life. And even when I die, my body's not just going to be buried. I'm going to make sure it's burned so that they won't get access to my dead body either, because we all know how some of them can be in the graveyard. There have been plenty of reports of this in the morgues, in the graveyard, of what can happen to women's dead, naked bodies. So just as a precaution, yeah, I'm dead ass, as New Yorkers say. I'm dead ass about this. I'm dead serious. I'm going to make sure that my body's burned and cremated, so there's nothing remaining that anyone can violate in my death. And that is also a statement, to surviving narcissistic abuse, and obviously surviving, sexual assault at the hands of men and all that. That is a statement that I want my body burned. I want to have control over my body, even in death. I don't want anyone violating my body in death, so I'm going to make sure that it's burned. And it's awful just to try to command, basic respect. As women, we have to fight so hard for it every day, because we're constantly disrespected by men, constantly. They don't respect us. They don't like us, and they're our biggest problem in the world. Yes, I have to deal with female bullies, female predators, female narcissists, sociopaths that try to come into my life. I have to fight them off. I have to battle them and get rid of them, and they will lay on physical abuse. Sometimes I've had to fight them physically as well. But in general, as far as like the sexual threats in this world, the threat of rape, sexual assault, severe physical violence to where I could literally die. And I had severe physical violence happen to me in childhood at the hands of female narcissists in my family, my siblings, who managed to who managed to cause me to have to go through surgery, for head trauma. So they had put me in the hospital, but this is as kids. I'm talking about as adults. Um, could a female abuser physically attack me, possibly put me in the hospital? Yeah, sure. But the vast majority of the time, I find as an adult now, like I have to worry about the sexual violence, sexual assault at the hands of men, and their physical violence. That's my biggest threat right now as an adult. Um, it's not female predators, physically be attacking me at random in the street. It is the male predators. So that has been, my biggest threat. And I think it's most women's, honestly. Yes, female sociopaths, narcissists are still very much a threat for women. But in terms of lethal violence, lethality, and obviously the sexual assault component, the female narcissist is not going to be able to harm you as women in that way. They will harm you emotionally by betraying you and not giving you any loyalty and not giving you any empathy because they have no empathy, or supporting you when you need it. And they will also bully you. They will make fun of you, especially if you have autism. You're different. You're neurodivergent. They will make fun of the way you talk, like they have done to me. They will ostracize you from the friend group. Bully you like a mean girl does. Ostracize you from the friend group, exclude you, all that. They'll do all that. But physical violence, not so much. It's pretty rare, I feel like, with them. But it's mostly social exclusion. But again, now that I found out I'm schizoid and I was diagnosed a few years ago, I don't give a fuck about social inclusion. So the female narcissist can't use that on me because I'm independent anyway, and I don't give a fuck about social approval or social status. So they can't use that anyway to hurt me. So yeah, I mean, all this stuff, but I'm kind of getting off on this tangent here. But yeah, I'm probably gonna lay down. My face is acting up again, as you can see. It's getting swollen again. But yeah, that was my rant. But yeah, I feel pretty confident, going forward that I'm going to be able to defeat any narcissist, even the most covert that tries to come my way. I'm going to be able to defeat them. And I know that they come for me. They constantly target me because of my autism, because I'm different, I'm neurodivergent, and they sense that. And they see it as a weakness, They see it as something that they think they can prey on, they think they can take advantage of and fuck me over for. And they have to find out the hard way they're wrong. They have to find out the hard way they fuck with the wrong one, and they have to find out the very hard way that I am not one to mess with or play with, and think they can take advantage of, because it's going to backfire and it's going to harm them a lot more than it's going to harm me. When they try to come for me, approach me, think that my solitude is a weakness or a vulnerability. It is not. It is a choice. They are going to find out the fucking hard way. Fuck around and find out, biatch. Seriously. And it sucks because I am tough, I am hardened. I am very tough, having lived in a lot of, ghettos and hoods and dangerous neighborhoods throughout my life in Miami and different, big cities. I have survived very rough areas, very rough, primarily Latin dominated, black dominated neighborhoods. As a, white female, solo white female living alone in those neighborhoods, I have had to dominate, survive those. And did fine. I did just fine. I was able to be as tough as any of the locals. I was able to stand up to, people from very tough cultures, Latin cultures, all that, and defend myself. All kinds of tough, Caribbean cultures that are extremely rude and can get very violent with you. I have had to stand up to those in Miami, all that. Yeah, I'm very tough and very hardened, but still, motherfuckers want to approach me. I find a lot of the ones that do that still try to approach, even seeing my hardened look, my don't mess with me vibe, my don't mess with me energy. The ones that still approach are definitely the delusional narcissists that approach me, that think they can still get one over on me. And typically they are like Middle Eastern, or they are, Latin, from Latin cultures. I just think a lot of them think, there's a lot of, we don't talk about this, but there's a lot of narcissism in those cultures, and a lot of Middle Eastern cultures. There is a lot of narcissism, We want to talk about white imperialism and capitalism and white supremacy, all this. No, there's a lot of fucking narcissism in, a lot of different cultures, Middle Eastern cultures, it's called collective narcissism. Uh, you know, India, has a lot of narcissism. A lot of these countries have a lot of narcissism. I think a lot of white apologists try to say like only racism and narcissism only exist in like white supremacy or white, cultures. No, it's everywhere. And it's in these very tough cultures, that you have to be very strong to survive in, and that I have been able to stand up to them, the bullies within those cultures, and stand up to them and not be afraid of them. As a Midwestern born, American, you have to have that thick skin and be able to stand up to people from these other walks, these other cultures, especially in a city like New York City, where almost everyone is born in another country. A lot of the ones that I encounter here, they're born in the Middle East, they're born in Latin America, they're born in Russia, they're born in all these countries, and they think they're really tough, and a lot of them can be because of maybe what they survived in their countries, but I'm fucking tough too. Growing up with narcissists, I have traveled all over the world, to the third world, all over Asia, developing countries in Asia, Latin America. I've seen it all. I've been all over the world. I've been to India. I've been to the Middle East. All that. Like I've seen it all, and I'm not fucking intimidated. I'm not scared by people from those cultures. I'm not uncomfortable around them. I'm comfortable standing up to them and dealing with them whenever I need to. You know, and putting them in their fucking place. If they step out of line, I am not like, one of those cringy white people that tries to be, like all polite and all that. No, and culturally sensitive. No, if you're disrespecting me, listen, motherfucker, disrespect is disrespect. I don't care what culture they're from. I don't care what continent. I don't care what country. Disrespect is disrespect, and that shit is universal. And if any of them, I don't care from what walk of life in any language, they try to disrespect me or bring that energy, around, no, they're gonna get told off and put in their place. And I do that every time with anyone I encounter in New York City that tries to look at me and say I'm the foreigner here. No, bitch, I'm not. I was actually born in this fucking country, okay? I have had plenty of people in this city who most likely were not even born in this country try to say that I'm the foreigner because I look different in this neighborhood, as a blonde, pale skinned, green eyed woman. I look different from your typical standard female in Queens, which most of Queens County, which is in New York City, has a lot of women, people of color. Yes, there are some Europeans scattered about in mostly Manhattan, I would say. But typically I do not look like the norm in this neighborhood I live in. I stand out, I stick out like a beacon, a sore thumb. I do not blend in. It's very obvious that I do not look like I belong in this neighborhood. Queens is primarily especially Astoria, it is a neighborhood, a working class neighborhood of working class immigrants, mostly from, Greece, Turkey, Egypt, the Middle East, Italy, all that. Like, and I don't look like any of them. I look very Northern European. I look very Scandinavian. I definitely stick out in Queens. Manhattan, there's parts of Manhattan I can go to where I still stick out, but I don't stick out as much as I do here. So, in terms of appearance, all I'm trying to say is there's not a lot of pale blondes, with blue green eyes walking around Queens. That's all I'm trying to say. And I look very different in this neighborhood. That's why I get stares, when I go out. I get stares, I get stared at, and sometimes it can be uncomfortable, because this neighborhood and a lot of Queens is like people of color, and I'm like different, like and it's true, but like it is what it is, there's just not a lot of white people like that live in Queens. Like it's fucking true. You know what I mean? Like I live in a minority neighborhood where there's just not a lot of white people. And if there are a few white people, it's like people from Russia or like Eastern Europe, who have their own little tiny, cultural like little enclaves in like different specific pockets of neighborhoods, but like you just don't see a lot. Like there's just not a lot. It's rare. It's a minority. So yeah, I am a minority here in New York City. especially in this borough in Queens. So I definitely, yeah, I stick out and I kind of feel, sorry for the light, it looks weird. I feel like every time I step out, I get stares, but that's okay. Um, New York City, it is the greatest city in the world, and there is a ton of diversity here. But you have to keep in mind also that it is it is really like it's diverse, but it's there's there's not that many there's not as many white people. And then there's like a lot of, I'd say, like white Jewish people here, but there's not like a lot of white people. So it's kind of funny. Um, I mean, well, you could say like Italian white and like Greek white, but like a lot of them can look darker, like darker hair, darker skin tones, all that. Like I don't know. All I'm trying to say is I just look like I look so different from the people here. It's funny. Um, anyway. Oh shit. I feel like my phenotype is even kind of like rare in the Midwest. Well, like the Midwest has a lot of like Northern European, descendants um like Illinois, Michigan, all that, but Minnesota. But yeah, I just feel like the Northeast, the East Coast now, it's mostly like Latino, Latin, Italian, all that, like darker skin, darker hair. So I'm definitely kind of a rarity here, which is kind of funny compared to like if I was in Minnesota, there'd be a lot more of people that look like me, but um, there's just not so much here. So, but yeah, so oh my God, this light is just too much. Now that's better. It's more um okay. Anywho, I'm gonna hop off. This video is getting a little blurry. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of the evening.